A surgeon once transplanted goat testicles into prisoners. Another claimed he could cure being gay with electric shocks. What a wonderful time to be alive. Joke aside, these weren't myths. They were real experiments, funded, recorded, and praised as science. It's the darkest side of human curiosity, where progress became an excuse for cruelty. So here's the question: how far will people go in the name of science? Let's start. Number 5, the testicle transplant doctor, San Quentin Prison, California, 1913. Dr. Leo Stanley, chief surgeon and self-proclaimed eugenicist, had a vision. If crime comes from bad genes, he'd personally edit the gene pool. So he started cutting. Stanley performed more than 10,000 testicle transplants over 20 years, using organs from executed prisoners, and sometimes animals. Goats, boars, whatever he could get. He claimed it boosted testosterone and cured criminal urges. In reality, it was mutilation disguised as science, and he didn't stop there. He also fixed ugly criminals with early plastic surgery, believing good-looking men were less likely to commit crimes. Talk about superficial justice. By the time he died at 90, childless, he'd permanently scarred thousands. And yet, he was praised as a medical pioneer. If you think that's twisted, wait until you hear what happened to 22 children in Iowa. Number 4, the Monster Study, 1939. 22 orphans, ages 5 to 15, chosen not for bravery, but because no one would stop it. Psychologist Wendell Johnson wanted to study stuttering. He split the orphans into 4 groups, half praised for speaking well, half told they were broken. Every week, a graduate student visited with a smile and told them they were developing a speech problem, that their teachers complained, that they should stop speaking unless they could do it right. After 5 months, the result? Children who had never stuttered before became terrified to speak. They went silent, withdrawn. Some ran away. The Monster Study proved one thing. You can't force a stutter, but you can shatter a child's confidence for life. The data was buried for 60 years. By the time the survivors found out, the damage was irreversible. And if you think psychological torture was bad, let's turn up the volume to chemical warfare. Number 3, the mustard gas experiments, 1940s, World War II. While soldiers prepared to fight Hitler, the U.S. military prepared to fight mustard gas. Over 60,000 soldiers were voluntold to join secret chemical trials. Most were teenagers. They were told they'd be helping end the war. They just weren't told how. 3 types of tests. The patch test, where mustard gas was dropped onto bare skin. The field test, where soldiers were surrounded by gas clouds. And the chamber test, where they were locked inside until it burned. Sergeant Rollins Edwards remembered it best. It felt like a million red ants crawling all over my body. Some survived, many didn't. Those who did were left with scars, lung damage, blindness, and no right to speak about it. They'd signed secrecy oaths under threat of prison. Even worse, tests were divided by race. Black Japanese and Puerto Rican soldiers used as comparison groups, with white troops as the control. The findings? Nothing conclusive. The pain? Permanent. If that sounds unthinkable, wait until you hear what one doctor did in the name of gender science. Number 2, the John Money Experiment, 1965. Twin boys, Bruce and Brian Reimer. A botched circumcision left Bruce mutilated at 8 months old. Enter Dr. John Money, a psychologist at Johns Hopkins, famous, respected, and about to destroy 2 lives. He convinced the parents to raise Bruce as a girl, renamed Brenda, claiming gender was a product of upbringing, not biology. Then came the checkups. Money exposed the twins to explicit content, forced them to imitate what they saw, and punished them when they refused. Behind closed doors, the acclaimed professor became a monster. Years later, Brenda learned the truth, reclaimed his identity as David, and spoke publicly about the abuse. But trauma doesn't end with a press conference. David died by suicide at 38, his brother Brian 2 years earlier. Money faced no punishment. He retired peacefully, and his theories went on to justify thousands of unwanted surgeries on infants worldwide. But if you thought psychological horror had a limit, meet the men who proved it didn't. Number 1. Unit 731, 1938 to 1945, Harbin, China. A facility so evil, even Nazi doctors called it inhuman. Unit 731, Japan's biological weapons program, disguised as a disease research lab. Here, prisoners were called logs, because to the scientists, that's all they were, entries in a ledger. Victims were frozen solid to test frostbite, limbs amputated and reattached to the opposite side, lungs filled with gas, organs removed, alive just to see what would happen. Women were assaulted to produce pregnancies, then dissected alongside their unborn children. When the Soviets closed in, Japan destroyed the facility, burning every record, executing prisoners, erasing evidence. The worst part? The U.S. granted immunity to the scientists in exchange for their data. Those same men went on to lead universities and medical boards. It wasn't medicine. It was methodical evil, recorded in neat handwriting, stamped with government seals. That's it for now. There's plenty more where this came from. If you want part 2, you know what to do. Thanks for watching. You looped again through time. See you in the next one.